Welcome Kasturians. In this video, we will discuss chapter 6 of history, that is Bhakti and Sufi traditions, that is from 8th to 18th century. What happened to the cults and the devotional texts. So in this period, a large number of gods and goddesses in sculpture as well as texts, that is the written text, they appeared that indicated the continued and extended worship of major deities like Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and the goddesses. They were visualized in a variety of forms. Now we will see how the cults they were integrated. There were two processes which were at work. One was the process of disseminating Brahmanical ideas, that was further exemplified by the composition, compilation, as well as preservation of Puranic texts in simple Sanskrit verses. These were meant to be accessible to women and Shudras who were excluded from the Vedic learning period. In the second process, which was at work, the Brahmins they accepted and reworked the beliefs and practices these and other social categories. Through an example, we can say that a local deity whose image was and continues to be made of wood by the local tribal specialists, it was recognized as a form of Vishnu. These local deities they were often incorporated within the Puranic frame work by providing them with an identity as a wife of the principal male deities. Sometimes they were equated with Lakshmi, that is, the wife of Lord Vishnu, as per the Puranic literature. At the same time, the Tantric worship it also emerged. This form of worship was often associated with goddess who were classified and claimed as tantric. The tantric worship was widespread in the subcontinent. It was open to women and men both. Those who followed tantric they rejected the caste and class within the ritual contexts, and many of these ideas of tantric worship they influenced Shaivism and the Buddhism. But quite often the conflicts between the ways and the methods followed to worship it emerged, and the conflicts that arose during the bhakti movement were between those who followed the Vedic tradition and those who practiced the tantric way of worshipping deities. Those who valued Vedic tradition they often condemned the practices that went beyond the performance of sacrifices and chanting of mantras in tantric as well as in bhakti movement. On the other hand, those who were engaged in tantric practices they ignored totally the authority of the Vedas. Now we will see the early bhakti traditions. The historians of religion they classified bhakti tradition into two broad categories, that is saguna and nirguna. Saguna means there was attributes and nirguna means without any attribute. The saguna cult it included traditions that focused on the worship of specific deities such as Shiva, Lord Vishnu and his avatars, that is his 10 incarnations, and the forms of the goddesses or Devi. Whereas on the other hand, the Nirguna Bhakti was worship of an abstract form of God. When we see the Saguna Bhakti, it was anthropomorphic form, whereas the Nirguna or Niguna, it was the abstract form of God. Now, during the 6th century, some of the Bhakti movements they were led by the Alvars and Nayanars in Tamil Nadu. Alvars, it literally means those who are immersed in devotion to Vishnu, whereas the Nayanars were the devotees of Lord Shiva. Literally, Nayanar means those who were devotees of Shiva. These people, they traveled from place to place singing hymns in Tamil in praise of their god which they were following, and during their travels the Alvars and Nayanars, they identified certain shrines as abode of their chosen deities, that is Lord Shiva or either Lord Vishnu. Later on, big temples they were built at those places and they developed as a pilgrimage center. According to historians, the Alvars and Nayanars they started a movement of protest against the caste system and the Brahmins and attempted to reform the system, which was already prevalent since the time of Brahmanical texts. The devotees they came from different social backgrounds such as artisans, the cultivators and even from the caste that were considered untouchables. The Alvars and Nayanars they comprised of different social groups and the compositions of Alvars and Nayanars are considered to be important as the Vedas. For example, one of the anthologies of compositions of the Alvars, the Nailira Divya Prabandham, was described as the Tamil Veda, and the text was significant like the Vedas and that were used by the Brahmins. When we see the women devotees, one of the striking feature of this Alvars and Nayanars, it was the tradition that the women were present. For example, there was a saint poet called Andal who was a Alvar woman. Her compositions were sung and sung every day and even today also. Another woman, Karaikal Ammayar, she was a devotee of Lord Shiva. She adopted the path of extreme asceticism to attain her goal. Her compositions were preserved within the Nayanar tradition, and these women renounced their social obligation but did not become nuns. Their presence was a challenge to patriarchal norms. The saint poets, that is the Alvars and the Nayanars, they were opposed to Buddhism and Jainism. This hostility is well marked in their compositions, particularly when it comes to Nayanars. The historians, according to some historians, this conflict was due to the competition between members of different religious traditions for royal patronage. Now we will see the relation of these with states. The Chola rulers especially they supported the Bhakti tradition and built temples for Shiva, Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Some of the magnificent temples for Lord Shiva such as it was temples in Chidambaram, Thanjavur and Gangai Konda Cholapuram. They were constructed under the patronage of the Chola rulers. They built temples often to claim divine support and proclaim their own power and status and adorned these temples with stone and metal sculpture to represent the visions of the popular saints. They made the spectacular representation of Lord Shiva in a bronze sculpture. The Chola kings they introduced the singing of Tamil Shaiva hymns under royal patronage, taking the initiative to collect and organize them into a text that was known as Devaram. According to inscriptional evidences which have been found so far, the Chola king Parantaka I had constructed the metal images of Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar in a Shiva temple, and these were carried in procession during the festivals of these saints. That's all we have in this video. The remaining parts we will discuss in the next videos. Thank you and have a nice day.